strap yourself in for Keeping It Real with Jac and Ral.
Happy Monday. Notice I've said that the last few episodes.
I know. What about if people are listening to us on Tuesday?
Genius. So this episode is the stories we tell ourselves. Ral, you are an expert storyteller for business. You must tell yourself a few stories.
I tell myself lots of stories, most of them delusional, but they serve me. They serve me well, and we're going to talk about that.
What are the stories you tell yourself?
No, I know. I'm not going to give them away. I'm going to talk to them.
Humble. So not humble.
I don't tell myself that. In all seriousness, and I know we mention Harvard a lot, and there's a little bit of a running joke about how often we mention it, but I did come across this concept of the stories we tell ourselves at Harvard.
Which was the first time you went to Harvard, right?
Yes, the adaptive leadership. Yeah. So it was adaptive leadership. And the way it came about, Marty Linsky.
Great name.
Yeah, so
Marty.
you're in a room at Harvard, right? Yeah. And you're trying to impress people because you just feel like you should be smart. And what would happen is you would get up and make an observation about something. So you'd make a comment and you say something, and Marty would go.
Marty was the lecturer.
And he would go, "That could be the truth, or it could be a very convenient story you're telling yourself."
Hang on, whoa. That could be the truth.
Yeah.
Or it could be a convenient story you're telling yourself. Convenient to you because it's easier than the truth.
Yeah, because I think one of the examples was around, like, someone was saying, I used to work for this manager, and he was just a real asshole, and he didn't get along with everyone, and blah blah blah, and I felt I wasn't performing in my role. And Marty said, well, that he could have been an asshole. That could be the truth, or it could be a very convenient story you're telling yourself. But what he did, which was freaked everyone out every time it happened, he would then open it to the rest of the room and said, so if that's a convenient story, Gabrielle's telling herself, what could be the truth? Oh. And the people were sort of told to go hard. And then there could be the truth was, well, maybe she just didn't like him, and
maybe she wasn't performing.
Maybe she wasn't performing enough.
Maybe she's not good enough.
Maybe that. And you're sitting there going, but, and it was like, wow. Some of them could be true. And then in the end, he goes, the story could be he was an arsehole, and that's fine.
Sure.
But
got to challenge it.
Yes.
Test it.
And the thing was,
be careful.
What he challenged us all to do, and what I challenge you to do, is to say, ask yourself, is that a convenient story, or is you're just telling yourself? So when people go, here's a classic one I hear all the time. I don't have time to exercise.
You're not prioritizing.
That is one of the most convenient stories of all time. Because if you said, okay, what if that's not the truth? Yeah. Right? There's probably elements of truth to that, but what if it's not the truth? What could be the other story? And then, and if you're asking other people around you or other people do, they would go, it's not a priority.
It's exactly right.
Too cold. It's too cold. Or I would feel so intimidated to walk into a gym because, I don't want to do it. And it's like, okay, there's probably elements of truth to all of that. So, but the point is, if you're just going, I just don't have time, and going, that's the truth and nothing but, that saying, tell me the truth and nothing but the truth. That doesn't exist, right?
No.
There's all versions of truth. So the stories we tell ourselves can either serve us.
This is what I want to get
or
to.
They hold us back.
So the point of this episode is it's important to understand what the stories that we tell ourselves are in order to see if they are holding us back or helping propel us forward.
Yeah. You would see that all the time in your coaching where people are saying, well, I can't do this because of that.
All
blah,
the time.
Blah, blah.
All the time. Our narrative within our heads is so influential. There's no question at all. And I think I've mentioned this in other episodes. People will over-dramatize things. I was so frightened to go up to the photocopier and ask if I could grab my piece of paper. The number of people that stand back from going and getting something or in a queue or doing something or putting themselves forward because they are so frightened. Really? Is that what you're fearful of? And when you start to challenge people or you start to say, did you just hear yourself then? Be quite dramatic. They go, oh, oh, yeah, I was a bit traumatic. So there is something about this awareness. Some of the things I hear people say, Ra, oh, look, the time's just not right for me.
Yeah.
I'm just not good enough for that. I'll need more practice. I don't deserve this. I haven't really worked that hard for it.
Yeah, I see a lot of people also like things like, oh, no, I'm just not good at public speaking. So they're telling themselves they're not good, or I can't do that. It's not the right time. I can't do that. I couldn't do what you're doing because I've got young kids. And I was like, well, I started doing what I was doing when I had young kids, or I couldn't do that. I know I've done it before, but I was just lucky. Yeah. Or I couldn't, but I'm not you.
Yeah.
I couldn't do what you're doing because I'm not you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Like,
I get that a lot, actually.
Oh, my God, don't be me.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, but I'm not confident like you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not able to write like you do.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I prioritise writing. I'm deliberate about when I write.
Yeah.
So it is
all these are stories we're telling ourselves. Now, they could be the whole truth, but they're very rarely the whole truth. So it's like you dig deeper, encourage yourself to dig deeper to go, is this really the truth here?
So the thing is, if we're telling ourselves stories, whether they be stories that are negative and holding us back or positive and helping us build confidence and be propelled forward, why is it important that we talk about the stories we tell ourselves? What do we end up doing if we tell ourselves stories?
So what we end up doing is the stories we tell ourselves lead to the labels we give ourselves. And again, the labels can serve you or not serve you. And predominantly labels don't serve us because they're normally negative. Like I said before, when people go, oh, I'm hopeless at public speaking. Well, guess what? If you say that enough time.
You believe it.
But also other people believe it.
Well, you tell others, they're going to believe it too.
You give them permission. Like, so if they could be talking about you and, what about we get Jac to speak at that? And they go, oh, no, Jac's
not
hopeless at public speaking.
Because she keeps saying
you know
that.
what? They've probably never seen you speak.
No.
You've just told everyone you're not good at public speaking.
Right. By the way, I'm really good at public speaking.
But
it's a good example.
It's the labels we give ourselves.
Which can either hold us back or propel us forward.
Yeah.
Remember when we were at that certain university in
Cambridge,
the US? No, we weren't at Cambridge, sadly. Oh,
it was Harvard.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, sure. But yeah. And there was that awesome lecturer, and it was really funny. And the line that came out was genius.
It was, the line was genius. So okay, I tell you the story was, we were doing this little quiz. And for people you had to fill out a thing like how many blanks in a round of blank, and you go like, or how many holes in a round of golf, right? Or there would be 18 in you had to fill it out. And one of the things was 1,000 blanks. Well, no, paint something or whatever. And we were going through all the answers, and most of them we got, and this one I got, and it was like,
which I don't think anyone else
got
that.
And so it was like 1,000 words of picture paints. It was, and I said it, and the lecturer goes, "Oh my God, how did you know that? No one ever gets that right." And again, just as a bit of a joke, because I'm the class clown, I went, because I'm a genius, and she gave me a high five, and everyone was laughing.
But that name stuck.
And the point is, we were in a room of 60 people. Women, you couldn't remember everyone's name. But the next morning, I'm walking in and people going, hey, genius, hey, genius, hey, genius. And I'm thinking, ooh, this is a label that serves me well.
This is a good label.
To this day,
they're still calling you genius.
And I just use it. And you know what? Hashtag own it.
Absolutely.
Like I'm a genius. Now,
so that's a great example of a label you've given yourself, but you've told yourself the story that I've earned this. I got that question right.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Somebody called me a genius. I'll have a bit of fun with it. And that's a really positive example.
Yes.
But the examples you were giving before, I suck at public speaking. You know, I used to say to myself all the time, I'm hopeless at numbers, hopeless at numbers. I'm actually not hopeless at numbers. I'm not an accountant by any stretch of the imagination, but I can add up really quickly. I can manage a budget really well, and I've done that for years. But I kept saying, I'm no good with numbers.
Yeah.
I'm no good with numbers. So eventually I had people look at me saying, well, we're going to need to get you somebody in the team who's really good with numbers. And that's when I realised, well, yes, I could do with somebody really good in the team that's great at numbers, but I should be careful about what I say.
You
because
just
this could
reminded
hold
me
me back.
I'm quite sporty and I like playing a lot of sport, and tennis is I just
Can't do tennis.
I don't like tennis. I think it's boring. And so when I first met Steve, I just said something about tennis because he used to play tennis, and I go, no, I'm terrible at tennis. I hate tennis. I'm crap at tennis, right? And then after like years and years and years, we were at play, and there was this tennis court, and we had a little game, and he just went, "Why did you say you're hopeless at tennis?
You're all right."
And he goes, "You're all right." And I go, "Yeah, I'm all right." But compared to all the other sports I play. And so, but the point is, I was saying I was hopeless at tennis.
Because you were comparing yourself to
I was comparing
Serena Williams.
Well, I was comparing myself to my ability in other sports. When the more accurate label would have been, I'm okay at tennis. And it doesn't really, I don't really enjoy it. I'm all right at tennis, but I don't really enjoy it. That would have been the more accurate label. The hopeless was not accurate.
Truth, yeah.
So it again, you just when you give yourself labels, you give people permission, and you know the amount of times my kids have said something like, "Oh my God, I'm so stupid," and I always try to go
jump on that one real fast.
I mean, and I think as parents, you've got to be really mindful, and I would say I have probably said to my kids, "You're so stupid," which is terrible.
Or that was a stupid thing to do.
But I think it's sometimes you can stop yourself to go, okay, what you did then was probably
silly. Yeah.
But that doesn't make you stupid.
No,
it doesn't
absolutely
make
not.
And I think that's with everything. Just because you do a stupid thing doesn't make you stupid.
Absolutely. One of our kids struggled at school, had a bit of a learning difficulty, and used to say, "I'm dumb." And Rich used to say, "No, you're not. You just learn differently."
Yeah.
Now, what that does is give a different label and builds confidence.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm different.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean to say I'm dumb.
Yeah.
Really important. So your environment is important again, isn't it, around the stories we tell ourselves? Because if we're telling ourselves stories and other people are reinforcing those stories by saying the same thing, which we could be encouraging them to do by telling them the stories in the first place, you can see how it can be then a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the importance of actually pulling back a bit, reflecting here. Stop. Hang on. What did I just tell myself then? Yeah. Is that true?
Is that the truth?
That's a really good
and
good point.
It's being mindful, especially when you are holding yourself back from not doing this because I'm not good enough or I don't have the time. Hold yourself back because it leads to labels. It doesn't serve you. There's a really great quote from Mahatma Gandhi. God, I can't believe I just didn't.
Coat.
Mahatma coat.
Oh dear, probably very, very wrong to say that. Mahatma Gandhi.
Every time we sort of try to be anywhere near serious or academic, we just
how we are not cancelled. I do not
anyway.
know. Mahatma Gandhi.
He has a good quote, and it says that your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. And
Goodness me, how'd you remember
it's a
all
long,
that?
I know it's a long one.
But it's a good one.
So it is things like if you say I'm stupid, then you'll start. So if you think that, you'll say it. So thinking it's one thing, but once you start verbalizing it out loud, it's I'm hopeless at public speaking, right? Which means your words become your actions. You won't put your hand up for actions. Your actions become your habits, so you never do it. And guess what? You never,
You are
it's destiny.
so spot on. One of the exercises I do very regularly in the coaching practice is helping clients create their personal brand narrative. And the point of that is so that they start believing what others have already said about them. So it starts with feedback. So go and get your feedback. And this is strengths-based. We're not worried about the areas of development for your personal brand narrative. Obviously, it's what you want to be known for that you're good at, and we're all good at things. So people give them the feedback on their strengths. They then, with my help, we craft a personal brand narrative, and they say, oh, great, that's done. I say, well, it's done now that you've written it, but now you're going to read it to me. Oh, I don't need to read it to me. You're looking at it. No, I do need to hear you say it. And I need to hear you say it more than once because we're going to tweak it and we're going to re-edit it. The whole point of all of that is starting to believe this is what people think of me. Yeah. This is fact, not my opinion. And you see this little light bulb go on. Oh, yeah, I am good at that. That's what people have said. I sort of knew it, but hearing that is nice. And now I'm saying it, now I'm believing it. And the next part of that is start to build that narrative into your everyday.
Yeah.
So if you're leading a team of people and they say, well, we need a strategy, you can say, look, one of my strengths is strategy. They're not going to disagree. They've all given you the bloody feedback.
Yeah.
Own it.
Yeah.
As you said, hashtag own it.
The work I do a lot of work with thought leaders, like how they're known for something. I was like, well, how you get known for something is yes, you got to do it.
gotta do it.
But you got to start speaking about it. So, like for example, you might want to become an expert on productivity, right? LinkedIn, for example, perfect place. Put it in there. I am passionate about productivity. And then so it's written. You're right when you get the opportunity, to talk about. You'll be going, okay, well, how do we become more productive around this and keep using it? And so it's you starting to believe in it, then actively using the words.
Yeah.
So becoming, and then before you know it, people go, oh, yeah, blah, blah. They're the experts on productivity.
Yeah.
Because you've labelled yourself as that. And now, again, you're not just labelling yourself and not doing anything about it. But it's these labels, these stories we tell ourselves, therefore the labels we give ourselves are so powerful because it completely influences
what we believe and therefore what we emit.
Yes, and what others believe and perceive, and then that can lead to destiny. That can
totally.
If you sort of go, okay, I want to get better at public speaking, instead of stop saying I'm hopeless at it, going, yeah, I'm actually quite passionate about public speaking. I'm always looking for opportunities. You're saying that out loud. People are going to give you opportunities, and then more opportunities will come. And then before you know it,
you're actually very good at it.
You're probably a professional public speaker, but that applies to anything.
Well, it does. And like we've spoken about before, the more you do something, the better you become at it in most cases, particularly if it's something you're interested in. Okay, so the stories we tell ourselves, they can either be convenient or they can be inconvenient. But the point of this episode is that our stories can hold us back or they can propel us forward.
Can I tell you a story?
Love a story.
I don't even
you know a few.
I don't even know why I asked that. It just thought of me then. And this is just something you tell yourself. When I run, I tell myself I'm the runner that does not stop when I'm running up a hill. Right? So I just, in my head, I'm going, I don't stop when running up hills. I just don't. And then, so when I run, I don't stop. Now, does that happen 100% of the time? No. But I can tell you what, if I was a runner that thought I'm a runner that walks up hills, I would be walking up a hill every time. Yeah. And so I don't even say that out loud to anyone, but it's in my head.
Yeah.
And so again, it's the label I'm giving myself around something simple like running.
From a story that you are telling yourself.
Yeah. And so it's really powerful.
I tell myself just one glass.
Here we go. We're back to it. But you said in another episode, you quoted someone, I forget who it was, but you said the body is stupid. It will do anything the mind tells it to do.
Para-Olympian. Yeah. Your mind is a genius. Your body is an idiot.
Yeah.
Your body will do anything your mind tells it to do.
Yeah.
Your mind is the strongest muscle in your body. Yeah. And so this comes back to the stories that we tell ourselves and our self-belief and the importance of that. So, okay. One of the things I do when I'm coaching and people say to me, I really want to do X. And I say, okay, what's stopping you? What's the worst that can happen? Mm-hmm. Well, I did that recently and bless her heart, she says to me, what's the worst that can happen? And she went on a 5-minute diatribe of the most incredible drama that could have been written for Netflix. I was compelled by the end of it. And I said, how realistic is that? She goes, it's totally unrealistic, but it could happen. You asked me what's the worst that can happen. I said, you came up with that so quickly. Do you honestly believe that? She said, no, but this is what goes through my mind a lot. I go to the worst case scenario. And I said, so every time you go to the worst case scenario, if it happens a lot, which you've told me it just does, how often does that play out? She said, never.
Never.
I said, but you still tell yourself that. I said, so that's really interesting. And now that you've just said to me, Ral, is it convenient or is it inconvenient? That's actually a really convenient thing for her to keep doing to hold herself back.
Yeah, but it's
even though it's not realistic.
Yeah, it's holding herself back. Just when you were saying that, it reminded me, I read something the other day and someone said, focus on what you want not what you fear. And so many people focus on the fear that it holds themselves back, as opposed to focusing on what you want.
And how you
and
get
it's that,
there.
all right, well, how do we get there?
Yeah, like that. Like that. Focus on what you want, not what you fear. And that's how people become more confident. It's how they achieve great things. It's how we've got man on the moon. It's how we built the first car. It's how we've got electric cars. It's not focusing on all the things that are wrong. It's focusing on the things that will work.
Yeah.
And that we can do.
Yeah. I'm just reminded of another thing.
You're not much of an active listener, I've noticed.
No,
because
I'm
every time
not.
I say something, you think of something else,
yeah.
which means you are not focusing on me.
No, I'm not.
You are not listening to me.
But I'm pretending to.
You're doing a very genius.
Active listening is one thing
There's
I
an episode.
do need. Yes, that is an episode. That is an episode. Before COVID hit and there was all these people that said, well, we can't work from home. Can't work from home. And call centres, it was like, there is no way known we could have a call centre. Like, people can't work from home because they work in a call centre. They have to be at the call centre. And within 2 weeks, every call centre was working from home. So I think that the whole way we operated
Mindset.
business was a story we were telling
ourselves how it had to be.
And it took COVID
Yeah.
to say, well, what if that wasn't the truth?
Reimagine
what you can do. And I just thought of that because I thought we had told ourselves, everyone had told themselves we can't work from home.
It's a good one.
And COVID proved that we can.
Absolutely. There's many things
So,
we can do.
so I think, coming back from a personal level, so tips and techniques, as we always end, I think first comes down to like awareness.
Be aware of what you are saying to yourself.
Yeah.
Be really aware. Write it down.
Yeah.
Write down what you say to yourself. Give yourself a little exercise. Today, I'm going to, when a thought comes into my mind, whether it's positive or negative, I'm going to try and write it down.
Yeah.
And then do an audit at the end of the
Yeah.
day. What did you tell yourself?
Yeah. And it's also catching yourself. Like
Catching yourself, being
if you
self-aware.
find yourself like all the time saying, or I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I'm a hopeless driver or whatever.
Or I can't do this.
Just like go, is that really the truth? And
Fact
you know
or
what?
an opinion.
Or you know what? It might be the truth, but you don't have to broadcast it to the bloody world.
No. And if it means a lot, then do something about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So take action and go and
So
go and
be
chat.
awareness. I think it's a really good habit to get into when you're saying, oh, I can't do that because of whatever.
Yeah.
Is that the truth?
What about
is it
asking
convenient?
others?
Yes.
So asking others, family members, people you work with, probably even better. Is there something I say regularly that is a bit negative about myself? Or do I say things about myself that tend not to be true?
Yeah.
People will tell you if you ask them.
Yeah.
They won't tell you if you don't ask, but if you ask, they will.
Yeah. And I think it's also listen when you're, you might be just sharing with a friend or a colleague about, I want to do this, but, I don't have time or whatever. And if they're encouraging you to go, yeah, but listen to that because they're probably telling you another version of the story.
Well,
or
that's
telling
right.
yourself.
They're seeing something in you.
They're seeing something.
They believe in you.
Yep.
So that is
Yep,
important.
yep, yep.
Good. What's another tip?
And I think the other one is, and maybe my genius story at Harvard, if you're going to be known for something, like if
Make it good.
Yeah, if labels are really important.
And they are.
Use positive ones and maybe some aspirational ones. And it could be, you just change the labels you give yourself.
I couldn't agree more. So if we had believed we couldn't be podcasters, we wouldn't be sitting here now.
No.
We had no idea whether we were going to be good podcasters, bad podcasters. What we knew was our first podcast would be our worst and we would get better. Have we got something that people enjoy? We're getting a lot of feedback to say that we do. So we're being aspirational in the label that we give ourselves, and we've both put podcaster on our LinkedIn descriptor under our profile. So we believe we're podcasters.
Yeah, and it's actually, I noticed we sort of both did that independently, and it must have been sort of around the same week that we got in and changed our LinkedIn profile to podcaster.
The stories we tell ourselves,
Yes.
we're podcasters, that's a label we want to give ourselves. Yep. And so we might have aspirations about becoming really good podcasters.
Yeah.
And no one's going to take that away from us. We're going to bloody
We're
try.
keep saying it to the day we die.
That's exactly right. But to help us, please give us a 5-star rating and share our podcast with your friends and family and colleagues.
Yes.
Okay, the stories we tell ourselves, the labels that we give ourselves, they can be positive or they can be negative. Choose positive. There's some tips and techniques and a few stories around being a genius.
Yep.
And we've got another exciting episode coming up next Monday. So until then, this has been
Keeping it real with Jac and Ral. Bye.
You've been listening to another episode of Keeping It Real with Jac and Ral. If you like what you've heard, don't forget to tell others about it and give a 5-star review. They may seem confident, but they really are sensitive 5-star needy souls. Yeah, right. Keeping It Real, created by Jack Phillips and Gabriel Dolan. Produced by Keehlan Ferrari-Brown. And this really real voiceover, spoken by Richard Phillips.